digital marketing. So we had quite a few people write questions in ahead of time. I'll start going through those right away. But if you have any questions, there is the chat box at the bottom of the screen. It's in the bottom corner. It looks like every other chat box you've ever seen. You can tap it and send in any questions. We will prioritize any live questions coming in. But other than that, we're going to go ahead and get started. So Jim, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me, Justine. It's exciting to be a part of this, not only today, but just the whole network after work. I think it's a great organization, great concept. And so glad to be here today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Yeah, this is your second time speaking with us. Jim also did one of our marketing summits with us as well, and had so many questions at the end of his presentation that I thought, like, all right, we're gonna schedule him for the Q&A. He's on the list. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into it. But like I said, if you have any questions, there's a chat box in the bottom of your screen. Just tap it, and then you can type in any questions that you have, and we'll get to those as well. So Jim, let's just start simple. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? What was your career path, and what led you to starting your own marketing company?
Yeah, so I have I guess a little bit of a different career path. I'm sure everybody does it in their own way. But when I graduated high school, I'll just say long ago, I enlisted in the Marine Corps Reserve, and then I went to Old Dominion University on an ROTC scholarship, and I was a double major in business and finance and human resources management, and I was 3 hours short of a minor in econ. And so I got commissioned in the Marines, and I was in the finance and logistics field for about 20 years. Retired as a lieutenant colonel. And while I was in the Marines, I got a master's degree in acquisition and contracting. So I also did government contracting a couple different times, and ended my career in the Marines special operations area, dealing with things like that. And so when I retired, I was at first doing defense contracting, government contracting work, but it wasn't something that, like when I grew up, it's like, oh, this is something I want to do for the rest of my life. And I really wanted to get away from the government. So about 2015, 16, I got involved with, I saw all these people doing stuff on this Facebook, right? And I would see them charging businesses to help them with Facebook. And I started to, analyze what they're doing. I was like, I can do this. So I started teaching myself how to do that. And so I started my company, Fusion Marketing, which was actually just evolving my previous government contract consulting company into this. And so I started doing it first what I would call social media management. And then I've now evolved into where I'm a digital marketing consultant, and I do live streaming, remote live stream production, as well as I'm on a couple of podcasts as well, and doing a lot with video, because I really think that's a part of the digital marketing that companies should embrace, because you'd be surprised how many companies still are not doing video. I mean, even the fact that you're doing this recording in this video right now, and these other sessions give you so much content to kind of cut up and put out there to gain people's interest, or even just to highlight, something that people may not have seen in that whole, 30-minute, 1 hour session.
Wonderful. What to you makes digital marketing different than all of its predecessors?
I think the big thing, and you and I talked about this a little bit before we went live, is at first it was all about social media, right? It was like about being on Facebook and being on Instagram. But what we found is, first of all, not everybody wants to spend all their time there. And two, you have to sometimes spend a lot of money with ads to get in front of your target audience. So we can't forget about things like websites or direct mail or email marketing. And a lot of this stuff is now created digitally. And, even with our cell phones now, right? There's our smartphones, whichever you want to call them. There's, text message marketing. So there's so many ways to reach people. I think the challenge becomes, what's a strategy that's going to work, that you're going to get response to, so that you don't come across, as we see with a lot of our LinkedIn connections requests, as being spammy. And so I think, to me, we have to get beyond just those platforms, because the other thing that we have to remember about all of these social media platforms is we're on rented land. And so you don't own those people, you don't necessarily own that content. And that's why, websites and some of these other spots are things you definitely want to consider in the bigger picture for your business or your personal brand.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it, the rented land. Any of these platforms can go away and you have to have something else. You can't do just that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I mean, even like the fact that you guys at Network After Work have moved over, I mean, not completely, but you're on Circle, right? You own Circle, you own the community. The Facebook group could get, shut down tomorrow, and then what? So I think even as we're taking people off these platforms to engage, things like Circle have become big, and because people want to have more of that community. And how do I have a community without having to sign up and be on a social media platform?
yeah. So we had one come in. How do I start my career in the digital marketing space with no experience?
Well, I kind of sometimes like to feel that I did that a little bit myself, in that, even though I had a background with, in business, and, as far as college and stuff, a lot of this stuff to me now, it's literally, a YouTube video away, or you start to follow these people. I initially was following a lady that people may have heard of named Kim Garst, and she had a very low cost program where she was teaching people how to do social media marketing. And so she would do talks once a week, and you could ask her questions, and she had courses. And so, whether it's LinkedIn Learning, whether it's YouTube, there's, Udemy, even a lot of community colleges are now offering, free workshops to help you get started. And I really think the barrier to entry is low. I think the challenge is being consistent and understanding that things are going to change. I think for me, the reason that I've enjoyed it is because I like the constant learning and understanding that, it's kind of like a sandbox that you get to play in. And it's like, well, let's see if this works. And if it doesn't, that's okay. Try something else. And so I think, you don't, it's like you don't have to go to college to get into digital marketing. I think marketing concepts are there for anyone. It's like, it's really, how do I influence people to make a decision to take action? And so some of that is just, understanding people. And I think that the other thing that comes along with that is, as we start to see how we can have that influence on people, we start to see success. And a big part of it is just being consistent.
Even if you did go to school for marketing or digital marketing, half of the things that are out there now were not there when you were in school. I was not in school that long ago. I like to think that it wasn't that long ago, but threads didn't exist. You know what I mean? TikTok didn't exist. Like half of the things that people are using, half the places you're putting ads, half the, you know, places where you have to have a presence didn't even exist.
Yeah, I have. Yeah,
So
I have an intern actually from one of the colleges right now, and she had heard about live streaming, but it's like they haven't really showed her. So, that was part of this summer. She worked with me and learned how to do remote production for, some of my clients. But that's not like something they're teaching in school. And it's going to change because, to your point, things are constantly being updated. And so what worked last year isn't going to work this year.
definitely. Let us know in the comments if you did go to school for digital marketing and how much of it is still around from what you learned. Also, there's that chat box down there. If you have any questions as we go, feel free to put those in there as well. But I'm just curious. Um, oh, we had one come in now. I've become active in AI. How is the panel addressing AI?
Yeah, I think AI is a great topic. I actually use a program called Magi, Magai, and it's by a guy named Dustin Stout. And so he's taking Chat GPT 4 plus Claude, and he's put it into a dashboard. And he also has a a piece called, I think it's Leonardo, that'll let you create graphics. And I look at AI as a great place to start your content journey, but I'm not going to just take it verbatim and post that as my content, because I think, what differentiates you is you. And so it's a great place to get ideas. I look at it as a way for me to kickstart ideas, or maybe it'll give me something that I forgot when I was maybe say writing something else. Like I might say, what are 10 reasons, to have a LinkedIn company page? And I could think of seven, but it's like, oh, those other three are good. But then I'm going to write that out or do a video in my own voice. And so I know there's this fear that AI is going to replace everybody's jobs. I don't see AI, you know, repairing my electricity or my air conditioning and things of that. And I see James's comment: would not persona prompts address you? Uh, I'm not going to buy into that. I am the only one that knows me, and I just don't think that a artificial intelligence is at that level where it can completely duplicate me. And we've talked about this on some of the live streams I've been on, that sure, we could theoretically create a, you know, video AI that can sound like me, look like me, but then if, as an example, Justine, you're in the audience and you ask me a question, it's like it doesn't know our relationship. So it's not going to be able to say like, hey, how are things going in Pittsburgh, Justine? Is it snowing today? And so I think I'm not, I mean, I think AI is a great tool, right? It's a tool, but it's not the end all and be all. And so that's how yes, I think prompts are important as far as getting better information, but I also think that if we really want to set ourselves apart, we need to do things in our own voice and not just turn it over to the computer to do everything for us.
Our Q&A last week was actually on cybersecurity and AI. And one thing that Burton brought up that honestly I feel silly, but it never occurred to me is if you do choose to use whatever ChatGPT or anything like that gives you verbatim, it's getting it from somewhere,
Right.
right? It's not making it up out of nowhere. It's looking for the information and pulling it from somewhere. And you have to be really careful with what is owned information, right? So if you're just taking what it gives you and putting it out there, someone might own that information and not love that you're using it with no permissions. So it never occurred to me that that could be a problem with it. But then afterwards, I was like, oh yeah, it didn't just write something brand new, 100%. Like it got it from somewhere.
Right. Definitely.
But like Tatiana said, love to use AI when I have writer's block. Absolutely. We always joke at Network After Work, like, how many ways can you caption a post about, like, a social media post about networking? Like, we have to do it all day, every day. And sometimes you just need that little, like, oh yeah,
Yes.
okay, there's a new way to talk about it. That's something I didn't think about saying, and then you write it yourself. We had another question about AI that I'm going to go right into. We kind of talked about what its failings are, what we're not using it for, but what are some opportunities that it presents for digital marketing?
Yeah, I think as an example, it can help you come up with, like, as an example, scripts for videos. So maybe you're like, hey, I want to write or I need a script for a video about a product or a service, and it'll give you some really good ideas, but you still need to execute on it. So I think it's great for things like that. I know in the program that I've been using, Magi, you can actually take a link and put the link in there, and it will go look at the link and then kind of like, as an example, it'll summarize it for you. So that may be a way to kind of, analyze some things and then give your thoughts. Like maybe if you're doing some sort of a wrap up video, maybe you want to talk with people about certain topics. I think it can be powerful there. I know people are using it to create, in a sense, content calendars. Like, give me, 30 topics on a certain thing over the next so many, for so many days. And then, of course, if you don't like it, you can tell it, give me 30 different ones, right? And it'll do that. So I think that's where it can really save you a lot of time. And I think that's where I look at it. I'm more along the lines of what Tatiana is like. Hey, it's helping me, uh, you know, get things done faster, but I still think that it's still early. That you run into, if we like, to your point with the items itself, copyright, right? Are we actually taking somebody else's content and spitting it out there as if it's our own. I think that's something that it's still too early to tell what the courts are going to do with it. I do know, I can't remember the name of the company, but I think there's a company getting sued for a ton of money because I think they were taking Getty images and using it to train their AI, if you want to call it, picture database. And so, just because somebody puts something out there, it's not necessarily in the public domain for you to use for commercial purposes. So I think those are the things that it's still too early to say that, oh, this is going to be the way things happen. And I could see where, people are going to get in trouble. People are going to lose careers and money. And so I would be, I'm not going to say not to use it. I think it's definitely something that people need to learn how to use, but we also need to, you know, do that. And I see too that, James is talking about, right? You've got all these different programs. You've got Bard and you've got, the ones that, Mike, every one of them has their own quote unquote database. But then Jarvis, who was one of the leaders in that, just laid off a ton of people, right? So is that because their AI is getting that good, or is it because people like, I'm not going to pay all this money when I can go to Chat GPT and do it for free or $20 a month?
Well, I like how you said it. It can save you a lot of time, but you still have to do it,
Right,
right?
right.
So I think that's a good way to think of it. Are there any other tools, or what tools did you come by that help you with your digital marketing? What are some tools that people should look into?
Yeah, I think like in my case, I do a lot of video stuff. And so you know, if you're going to meet with people, right, Zoom is a great way to do meetings, or I know some people are going to use Teams or Google Meet. I think some of that becomes your preference, but I've learned to use all of them. But when it comes to recording video, I'll use StreamYard or I'll use Ecamm because it allows me to do a lot of stuff graphically to come up with a better end product. I can bring in another great one is Descript. Like we could take this video after we're done. If you sent me the file, I could put it into Descript and it would caption it instantly. I could then cut it up into like say 1 minute pieces, and I could even resize the canvas to make it vertical that I could then put it on YouTube shorts or things of that nature. And so, but then I also, since I have the transcript, I could then turn it into a blog post. I could make it a part of an email. And so, those are things that are requiring me as a person to do. That's not necessarily something yet that we can do with AI. So I think there's a lot of great video editing tools that can help with kind of getting both the written word and even turning some of the stuff into podcast, right? That's another thing that Descript will do is it'll strip the audio. Now you have that audio file, you can upload it and turn it into a podcast, which, because some people aren't going to have time to watch something, but they'll listen to something because we all seem to have our favorite ways of doing things. And then when it comes to content scheduling, I'm a big fan of a company named Agora Pulse. One of the things they do have, and I know it was a question earlier, is they have a tool to measure your social media ROI, right? Because when you look at your return on investment, it's more than just likes and follows. Are you converting people? What are the things that are resonating with people? And so those are some of my favorites. I probably have a problem where I have too many tools, and every once in a while I have to like say I gotta stop using this one.
Well, you know what? We're going to actually talk about that ROI thing that you mentioned. That was a question that came in ahead of time, so we haven't done that one yet. How do you effectively quantify ROI on marketing?
Well, I think I
Right.
think you need to know what are your key performance indicators, right? What is it that you're really trying to measure? And so when somebody, as an example, says, "Oh, we can make your video go viral," I don't believe that. That's usually more luck than anything else. But as an example, if you are posting stuff organically and you're seeing that people are, it's the conversion thing. Are people signing up for your newsletter? But you have to be able to track that. And so I think as an example, now that Google Analytics 4 is out, right? It's giving people some new tools, but you really have to take the time to kind of map out how you're going to track your different ways of doing things. There's different linking tools. I just started recently using a linking tool called beacons.ai, and it'll give me that data to let me know where people are seeing, my link from, because I basically created a domain name, fusionmarketing.live, and I put it in different places. So if they accessed it through LinkedIn, I know they came from LinkedIn or they came from Facebook or wherever I might have put that link. And so that's where I think you start to, think about measuring, because if you find out, I'm really not getting a lot of action in this platform, it may be that you're targeting the wrong audience or your content's not resonating with them. So now you need to think about how are you going to change that. But I think ROI, likes and follow, is not a true determinant of ROI, because, and Pat Flynn talks about this, you have these super fans, right? And so I would rather have 100 people that want to connect with me and talk about my stuff to their friends and family, as opposed to 10,000 that don't care. And so I think sometimes we get caught up in this, that large numbers equal to, a big return on investment. I don't think that's the case at all.
Awesome. So we have someone in the comments, Tatiana. She's opening a new yoga studio, a physical retail location. She wanted to know how AI can benefit her, but there's also a question from Eventbrite that I think would be good for her too. What should be the main focus in digital marketing for a new business owner?
Yeah, I think it kind of goes into, when we think of, as an example, Facebook ads. It really, the ads are kind of cut into three categories, and it kind of equates to networking, and it's called know, like, trust. Trust being conversion, know is building brand awareness. So if you're just opening, nobody knows you. So don't sit there and try to put content out that is trying to get people to, sign up for your classes and buy your stuff, because they don't even know who you are yet. So a lot of it is, you need to create content that's educating people what you're doing, right? You also want to make sure that you're getting yourself out on all the, as I like to call them, the free map locations, which would be, Google, which would be Bing, possibly TripAdvisor, because maybe if people are coming from out of town and they're looking for a yoga studio, they might want to do that. A LinkedIn company page. You're going to get found when people search, because they're going to find your yoga studio has got a location on LinkedIn, Apple Maps. So part of getting your business found is being in the places where people go to find things. And I think we talked about this before, even YouTube, right? Why would I want to have a YouTube channel? Because people are searching for solutions to their problem. And so if you're putting some videos out there about yoga, why yoga is important, when I'm searching for that, and then I find out, oh, you've either got a physical or a hybrid class that I can attend, that's what's going to draw more attention. And it's that whole referral marketing thing, as somebody's like, hey, Justine, did you see this new, you know, yoga studio that's over by you? I saw it on, social media somewhere, and it looks really cool. So create something compelling. And that's where I think video can be important. It doesn't have to be something you spent thousands of dollars on. It can be as simple as getting on your phone and just, letting people know who you are, because we want to do business with people that we know, like, and trust. And so I think before we start thinking about sales, we've got to build that awareness and that, that know and that like, so that I'm going to trust you. And then if you do start to get people in, they need to leave reviews, because reviews are extremely powerful for any business. Because what's people going to do a lot of times? They're going to go to Google and see, how many reviews do you have? Do you have any 5-star reviews? You're getting 1-star reviews, and even if you get a bad review, you can't ignore it. You need to reply professionally, and don't turn it into a, what I like to call, a running gun battle, because I've seen that happen with people, and those don't go away. So, just be professional about it, and move on with that.
Absolutely. Um, so Sylvia just said she opened a business as a mom coach. She coaches online and doesn't have a physical location. Should she add her business to Google with her own address?
So what you can do is you can put your, and I do this with my business, is you can put your business out there on Google and make yourself what we call a service area location. So that way you're not having to give up maybe your physical address because you don't want people necessarily coming to your door. But that's something that I would suggest you do with Google. I've had a Google location for Fusion Marketing for many years, and so I think it's definitely, because the other thing Google gives you, and of course, I don't call it Google My Business anymore. But it's still there. You can sign up your business on Google, but you can put updates out there. You can put offers out there, and so when people are searching, these things will pop up, and they can sign up for your list. They can buy things from you. So I would definitely consider that, Sylvia, as something that you want to consider strongly.
Awesome. Another Tatiana, different one than the first one, said, should you use hashtags on YouTube videos? So if you want to do that one, but maybe also talk a little bit on when to use hashtags, when not, across all
Yeah,
platforms.
I think hashtags have been one of those things that it can't hurt. I think you don't want to go hashtag crazy where sometimes you see people using 20 hashtags. When it comes to YouTube specifically, there's a couple tools that I know of and one that I use. I use TubeBuddy, and I also know of another one called vidIQ. And what it will do is it will help you with what they call tags. And so these tags are more, we'll call them like search phrases, right? So maybe it's like top LinkedIn training videos or, LinkedIn tips. And so when people, because that's what people are typing in the search in YouTube. I can't think of the time. I don't know about you, Justine. Maybe you could tell me, when have you gone into YouTube and searched by hashtag? Or are you more searching in a more of a short phrase or what we call long tail keywords? So I think, yeah, you can put hashtags on YouTube videos, and there's ways where it will sort that way. But I don't think it's like the magic formula for, getting you more views on your YouTube videos.
Yeah, I can't say I ever really even noticed that there were hashtags on YouTube videos. Like to search, I didn't know that I could even search for hashtags. I don't think
Right.
anyone, yeah, you're right.
Right.
Awesome. Corey said, what do you, more questions. Sorry, it's popping Corey up. What do you think is the strongest way to leverage video for marketing your business?
So I'm a big fan of what I call the four E's of social media, which is educate, engage, empower, and entertain. So if you can make videos that are doing that, right, or maybe have a series of videos, but here's the thing about those videos: they can be short, right? You can make them vertical so they can be used as reels or TikToks or shorts, but make sure that when you upload these videos to whichever platform, do it natively. Don't take your TikTok video with all those TikTok watermarks and then put that on Facebook or Instagram, because the platforms punish you when they know you're using the stuff from somewhere else. And then the other thing you run into, as an example, if you're using music on your videos, the music that you're using on TikTok may not be allowed on Instagram because they've got all these different rules when it comes to music. So those are a couple of things that I would consider. Also with your videos, consider captions, not only for reasons of accessibility, but also because sometimes people have their video or their audio off, right? They're watching your video, but they're not actually listening. So think about captions as another way to gain people's attention. And then the other thing is get right to the point. Don't you know, I think sometimes maybe in the past it was more about like, oh, I've got to do this long introduction of who I am and what I do. No, people are already there. They're wanting to watch what you're talking about, probably based on the title of your video. So get right into it. And don't, and at least for me, right? This is a, like, if you want to call it a pet peeve, is you have these people is like, I'm going to tell you, 5 ways to do X, Y, or Z, but then they drag you out for like 20 minutes, and then they don't ever really tell you those 5 things that you thought you were going to see. And people is like, well, I'm never going to get that 20 minutes of my life back. So, get to the point, tell people what it is that you want to teach them, because they'll respect that and they'll come back because they start to trust you. Like, hey, as an example, Corey, when he's on video, he gets right to it. He tells me what I want to know, and I appreciate that. Now, maybe some people want that longer, drawn out stuff, but even taking a long form video, as I said, taking this interview, and then cutting it up into shorter videos, right? Because we could take some of those specific questions and that video would be about just that question. Somebody doesn't necessarily care about some of the other questions that we may have talked about. So that's another way to take your longer form videos, or maybe you got interviewed by someone on a video show or a podcast, video podcast. Take that, and so that will sometimes get people to go watch the rest of the show by seeing that one piece.
Awesome. So we're running out of time, but I want to get to this one. Julie said, I work for a label printing company. Customers are going where they can get the cheapest price. Printers are constantly lowering price, as is everything else. How do you increase price when customers are price shopping? So how do you market something that is not going to win the price war?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think because even with what I do with video production, people can go to Fiverr, right? They can find things cheaper. You've just got to. I think sometimes, is your product becoming, in a sense, a commodity? And so you either have to figure out how you can keep your margins up, or you've got to find another way to serve your customer that they're not getting otherwise to make that price worthwhile. And I know that's a challenge. I mean, uh, printing is a very competitive industry right now because of exactly what Julie said. And so, yeah, because I know I get some emails from, I think there's a couple of different ones that they print stickers or they do special things. So I think those customers you have, you got to figure out, how do I keep them? And one of them, a friend of mine, Jessica Phillips, talks about is, how can you surprise and delight your customers so they want to come back? Because if you have a strong relationship with me, as a, and me saying from a customer standpoint, and you do things that I don't get from other people, I will pay more for that. And I think that's the thing we have to remember is, people will pay more for quality, not just the quality of the product, but quality service and feeling like they belong. So don't just reach out to your customers when they need something. Just reach out to them. Maybe it's, as an example, sharing other things that can help them in their business that have nothing to do with label printing.
So we're going to do one last one. What is one hot trend in digital marketing, and that you think has real sticking power?
I've said it a couple times. I think video is hot. I think it's going to continue to stay hot because there's still a lot of people not doing video, right? I would almost be curious, of all the people that are watching here live, how many of you either A, have a YouTube channel, or how many of you has your business put out a video, or had someone in your company be on a live show talking about your business, right? Those are opportunities to get in front of people that don't know about you, getting in front of other people's audiences, and so I think that's going to continue to be hot. And I'm also curious to see, especially with LinkedIn, even though Clubhouse has had its challenges and gone down, but how much is live audio going to continue to grow? Because like LinkedIn audio, I don't know what we call it now, X Spaces, Twitter Spaces. Will some of the other platforms come out with those as well? Because then we don't have to be camera ready, and anybody can jump in and join the conversation. I think those are exciting ways as well for us to network and grow our businesses.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jim. Well, sadly, we didn't get to all the questions, but we are out of time. We might have to schedule another one of these. But just so that way you can continue the conversation on your own, you can find Jim on our community. You can message him there. He gets direct messages, but he's also on LinkedIn. And Jim, your website?
Yeah, the best place to reach me right now is go to fusionmarketing.live, and that'll take you to where you can connect with me in all the different places. And if you want, you can even jump on. I'm creating a new email list because, right, I told you, I got to get off that rented land.
Awesome. Thank you so much again. This was such a good conversation.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure to have you.
Thanks, Justine. Great to see everyone.
Thank you.